What's going on, faithful? It's your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew, here to bring you guys our first behind enemy lines of the 2018 NFL season. So before we get to the nitty gritty, I want to let you guys know where to find us. If this is your first time checking us out here on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the little notification bell so that way you know exactly when we go live, okay? You can check out the website. That's www.nothingbutniners.com, and there you're going to see a bunch of articles from a crew of great writers that we have there. You're going to see our videos that are here on YouTube. You're also going to see our podcast, all right? That's going to be on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, SoundCloud, all of those major avenues. You will be able to find our podcast on there. And then you'll also be directed to our social media pages. We have Twitter and Snapchat. Both of those handles are Nothing But Nine, ERS. And we also have Facebook and Instagram. And both of those are Nothing But Niners, spelled all the way out. All right. So with no further ado, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. I am joined today by Katya of the Vikings Fangirl, or Vikings FGSN. So Katya, how are you today? Thank you for joining me.
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely ecstatic that it is week 1 of NFL. So sorry about that. Like I said, I'm super excited. We're home against the 49ers this week, so it'll be a good little test of Cousins, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Absolutely. So I want to get a little bit of background about yourself. Why the Vikings? Of all the wonderful teams out there, why Minnesota? Like, what brought you to that fan base?
Well, here's the thing. I was born in Minnesota. But I've lived the first 25 years of my life in Minnesota. So I think it's really hard. We're a very loyal fan base, but actually choosing the Minnesota Vikings, if you're not from Minnesota, that's a heartbreak waiting to happen. Our Minnesota fans in general, I think everyone will understand what I'm talking about. So it's the best of the best and the worst of the worst, but we're in it for the long haul. So I'm really excited to be the Vikings fangirl this season 2 and kind of show the world what our team's about and our big fanships.
Absolutely, man. The Vikings made some great strides last year. They were this close to getting to the big game, man. But they were also this close to not making it to the game before that. So you guys have gone through a whirlwind of emotions. I can only imagine the excitement that's going on there with you guys right now. So that's what we want to talk about. I mean, I want to talk about season expectations really quick with you. What is Skol, first of all? I hear Skol and I think about chewing tobacco. So what is Skol? And tell everybody who's watching this what that is, in case they don't know. I hope you know. I don't know.
I do know. Skol is a Scandinavian war chant. It doesn't really have a translation in English, I guess. But Minnesota is a very large Scandinavian population. Obviously, we're the Vikings, so that kind of falls into that. So Skol's a chant that we developed out that. In the last couple of years, there's also an Icelandic, I think it's a rugby or soccer team. I'm not sure that it's specific, but they did this whole chant that they go like this. They say Skol throughout the whole thing. So the Minnesota Vikings have established that. And if you have been at US Bank Stadium when it happens, it really kind of echoes the whole stadium. It's an amazing chant. I'm really glad that we developed it.
When you guys had that walk-off touchdown against the Saints and Case Keenum went to the end zone and started doing that, I'm not going to lie. When I see a large group of people doing anything in unison, I immediately get goosebumps. And I was like, holy crap, what a moment in NFL history. That was awesome. It was like the icing on the cake. It was great to see that whole thing happen. So that was pretty cool. All right, so now I know what Skol is, kind of, right? All right, so talk about the Vikings expectations from your perspective. What's the media saying out there? How do you guys feel about this team? Is it Super Bowl or bust now that you have Kirk Cousins?
It's Super Bowl or bust. There's no question about that on my opinion. But I think that level, that's what scares me too. I don't know. We're all like, what is Cousins going to do? I think we have faith in him. But we can't, after the upset of last season, there's no way we would be satisfactory with anything but at least going to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say we're going to win. I don't know what's going to come out of the AFC or someone surprised. I mean, the Eagles they had a good team, but they really kind of came out of nowhere last year to win the whole thing. Eagles got their first Super Bowl. I think it's Minnesota's turn to finally get the first Super Bowl. But that being said, I think there's a lot of nerves and expectations that we don't have right now going into this first season.
Okay, if I don't start talking about the 49ers soon, the fans of the 49ers are going to start killing me. So let me tell you a little bit about the 49ers expectations this year. I'm going to tell you my personal ones. I can't speak for everyone else, but I know that the fans are energized. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo rattle off those 5 wins at the end of the season. We went up against the big bad Jaguars. We took it to them. Like, it was great. So the 49er fans are energized. They're super, super positive. Even the people who are trying to be negative are saying, oh, I see 8-8 at worst. Like, so this is going to be something that the fans are really, really excited to see. I haven't heard anyone say anything about the Super Bowl, but I have heard them talking about we should be able to get a wild card. We should be right there competing in the last couple of weeks of the season for a wild card spot. So they're not even saying that they're going to win the division, but the positivity amongst this fan base is as high as it's been probably since 2012. So with that being said, I want to talk about strengths and weaknesses of the teams. All right, I'm going to let you go first. I want you to talk about the strengths of the Minnesota Vikings team, because this matchup is going to come down to checks and balances, I think, and it's going to be who can do what right and make less mistakes. But we'll see how you guys are thinking over there. What are the strengths of the Minnesota Vikings?
The strengths right off the bat, but Vikings defense, you can't go wrong with it. Number one going into the season. That is going to be our bread and butter throughout the entire season. We have depth in the defense as well, and I think that if we have a couple injuries here or there, it's going to be amazing. We brought in our rookie this year, our high draft pick is Mike Hughes, who's a cornerback. But the highlight about Mike is also his special teams play. He's going to be a huge player for special teams for us as he's developing that role behind some great leaders on the defense. I saw a stat the other day about Kirk Cousins, about this game in particular, that makes me nervous. Kirk Cousins has started his last 3 starts at week 1, he has not won. And I think that makes me really nervous going into play in the 49ers this week, just because there's going to be so much pressure. We definitely have some questions on the offensive line. Our center's out for at least the first 3 weeks. So we're playing around that this week. And I think our run game is obviously going to be dependent on that. Dalvin Cook's coming back. His strength is going to be very pivotal for us. And then we had Latavius Murray. He had a couple of fumbles in preseason. So hopefully those nerves are out. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
All right. So you're absolutely right. The Vikings defense is absolutely the strength of the team. I mean, if there's one thing that you guys know, it's that the Vikings are going to come out there and they're going to put up a fight. So in order to talk junk or talk smack, on Twitter, like I like to do, I have to know what I'm talking about. So I did some research. 3rd down for the Vikings defense is money down. They allowed only 51 third down conversions last season during the regular season. That was 25% of the snaps. That's insane. That's like, it's 3rd down, guys, don't worry, we're coming off the field. That is absolutely nuts. I couldn't believe that. And I was looking up the things you were talking about with the offensive line. I thought the Niners had a bad offensive line until I read your guys' story. This is going to be something that I think the Niners might be able to take advantage of. But I see here that you guys are going to have Riley Reif, Rashad Hill at the tackle positions, but the interior of your line is a little in flux. Brent Jones might be playing left guard, or Tom Compton, or Danny Isidora at center. Like they're doing a lot of stuff that they don't really know. The center, I think, was actually named today. I think I got an alert saying that you guys named the center today, but this will only be like his 2nd time ever, like not season, but 2nd game ever playing center. Is that right?
Yes, it is. So Danny Isidora, he actually usually plays right guard. But when we had some trouble with Pat Elflein, we brought in center Brett Jones from the Giants. But I think there's just still some inconsistency with how he's fitting in along the line. And I think going into game 1, they want a little more solid center work, which Isidore doesn't necessarily have, but he has adjusted very well. He started in the last preseason game, did pretty well considering it was his first time actually playing the position in an NFL game, actually even in college. So I think that will probably be a game time decision, who's going to do Isidora or Jones. And if Isidora starts and it's not going well, they can always switch it up to someone who's more veteran in the position.
Absolutely. And so here's why I think this is cool, because the strength of your team is the defense. The strength of our team is the offense and Kyle Shanahan. So you're going to have like might up against might there. Okay. And then the weakness of your team is your offensive line. We're going to be able to, where we're going to try to put some pressure on Kirk Cousins, right? And the biggest question mark of the 49ers team is that there's no pass rush. So how are we going to get to Cousins? So you guys have your weaknesses looking like it's going to go up against our weakness, the pass rush and your offensive line. Your strength is going to go up against our strength. I'm telling you, man, I think this is going to be a really, really good game. This should be the NFL's game of the week, in my opinion, but I probably feel like that for all 16 games that the 49ers play in during the regular season. So you've been watching Kirk Cousins. Give me some thoughts on him. I mean, I don't know how much he played in preseason and things like that. So I'll be honest here, I have not watched you guys in preseason. So let me know how you think Kirk Cousins is doing so far. And do you think there's going to be some jitters that he's got to work out in this new offense?
I think the interesting thing about the quarterback situation with the Minnesota Vikings in particular is that we only twice in the past decade have the Vikings had a quarterback start all 16 games in a season. So just naturally as Minnesota fans, we are nervous. We are nervous about not only his health, but we put $84 million guaranteed on someone. And that's a lot of pressure. We obviously know just from his past, he has an unbelievable arm strength, accuracy, and like a really good anticipation of the game. The one thing I will say about the Vikings, from the second that Kirk Cousins announced that he was going to play for the Vikings, they really embraced him, and all of the guys. He made a comment in training camp, was like, I was kind of nervous coming in, like, do I have to work up a trust with these guys? And he said from day one, they trusted me, the entire offense. So he didn't really have to play any games. I think he has a great chemistry with Diggs and Thielen already, which right there, I think that's going to be our ticket to the game, is the accuracy with those two in particular and Cousins.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's good to see. Now, I was looking up, again, got to be ready for smack talk. Kirk Cousins has a bad habit of holding on to the ball too long. All right. And so I was looking at the numbers, and he gave up the most yards because of sacks last year than any other quarterback in the entire NFL. All right. And then they say that if you can get to him early, you can fluster him a little bit, force him into some bad throws. I think that's what the 49ers game plan is going to be. So if people are paying attention, 49ers fans have been clamoring and crying and complaining and begging for an edge rusher. We don't have an edge rusher. All right. But they hired someone, Chris Kiffin, from college, and his thing is to make the defensive line work as a unit, not individuals going after the rusher. So what they're going to try to do, I think, is going to do what Philadelphia did to you guys in the playoffs. And they're going to keep those linemen rotating in and often. They're going to be doing stunts and twists, and they're going to be blitzing, and they're going to try to pressure Kirk Cousins often and early and often. So if it comes down to it, I think this could actually be a defensive battle. So I want to get your thoughts on how you see the game playing out. If you were calling the shots, how would you attack the 49ers, and how would you defend them?
Well, on that note of Cousins' troubles last year, you know, in the past, he had a lot of problems with the offensive line at Washington too. So I'm hoping that in the offseason, he's really worked on that fluster and timing, and hopefully with the Vikings, he's done that. You know, like you said, I totally agree with you about the defense, a game of defense. I think we just have to really be super focused on special teams and defense. Getting, you know, if we can return it for a touchdown right off the bat, I think or a pick six, that always gets our entire, not only our defense going and points on the board, of course, but I think it really, when the defense shows up, it gets the whole offense into it as well. Because we've had that for the past couple of years. We've had a really strong defense, and the offense just can't convert. So I totally agree with you on that end.
All right, so it's gonna come down to the coaches playing chess. It's really what it's going to be. There's good players on both of these rosters. I will say this: what I'm nervous about with this game is Kirk Cousins might actually come out and have a good game. He has never had weapons this good surrounding him. Now, if Cook can come back and he can be 100%, he's probably going to be the best running back that Cousins has ever had to hand the ball to. If the wide receiving core that he has there now with like you said, Thielen and Diggs, that's going to be trouble also. So I'm a little worried about the offense, but I'm praying that your offensive line is bad enough that the Niners can make a difference. All right. So I think the way Kyle Shanahan is going to attack your defense is going to be more about dinking and dunking, kind of like what we did against Jacksonville. So if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars game, no receiver on the 49ers had 50 yards worth of catches. You know what I mean? It just didn't happen. What we did was we used a lot of tight ends. We did a lot of things with the fullback. I think our fullback was our leading receiver that game, Kyle Juszczyk. So Kyle Shanahan is the master of where's the weakness in your defense. I'm going to exploit it. He doesn't outsmart himself like, oh, you guys have the best run defense in the league. I'm going to force the ball down your throat and take away your momentum, he's not going to do that. He's going to take your defensive weakness and he's going to try to exploit it. So tell me, please, what's the weakness in your defense? I won't tell anybody except Kyle Shanahan.
I'd say our weakness in our defense is the cornerback position. Trey Waynes has been kind of up and down. That's why we also brought Mike Hughes in, the rookie Mike Hughes. I think that we don't have Mike Zimmer doesn't have full faith in Trey Waynes. I think that's kind of where you get him. Speaking of fullback, touchback, CJ Ham for us has been absolutely amazing in preseason. I think that he's an offensive weapon that you guys would have to absolutely look out for. I think he's the way to go. But cornerback, if you want to target our defense, cornerback.
That's so interesting you said that. You called him an offensive weapon, your fullback. That's pretty cool because of all the research I did, of all the podcasts I've listened to about the Vikings, I haven't heard anyone mention that. Now, I'll be honest, I started listening to the podcast starting from your third preseason game and then the last one, and then everything that's been coming out. I've been drowning myself with these Vikings podcasts. I feel like I know too much about the guys, and all this just for 1 week of preparation, but whatever. So I'll be interested to take a look and see what I can when I go back and do some research on your fullback. And now you talk about the corners being your weakness, and check this out. Even though I really like the corners, Richard Sherman is coming back from an injury, and he's going to be the starter on day one. We have a second-year guy, Ahkello Witherspoon, that someone's got to test someone. You know, they can't avoid throwing the ball to Richard Sherman all game, and they can't just say, well, Ahkello Witherspoon's really good. So one of these guys are going to get targeted throughout all of preseason. I think the two of them combined for 3 targets thrown to them. So we have no idea what this new look defense is going to look like from the cornerback perspective. We have Kwan Williams coming back in the slot. He's coming back from injury. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what you guys do to combat the 49ers defense. I'm going to be glued to the TV set the entire time. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to thank you for joining me again. Is there anything else you want to say to, what do you guys call it? Vikings Nation? What are you guys?
Definitely Vikings Nation, Skull Nation, anything. Now you know what skull means. Yeah. I'm just super excited. I think this test game it'll be interesting because week 2 we go to Lambeau as well and a little revenge game for Aaron Rodgers. So I think we hopefully we pull out a win on week 1, but also this is an opportunity for us to like get out the kinks in anything and everything before we go up to that division rival and handle it, hopefully.
All right, I'm going to put some pressure on you really quick before I let you go. I want a bold prediction and I want a final score prediction. Bold prediction.
For Sunday's game.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, obviously we're winning. Duh. I'm going to say that there's going to be, I'm going to say 24, 15.
All right. I like your prediction. So I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think both offenses are going to struggle against the good defenses that they're playing against, but I do think the Niners pull it out. Surprise, surprise. I think that there's going to be 7 sacks of Kirk Cousins. 7. I know that is a ridiculously high number, but I feel like we're going to blitz and stunt and attack so much that it's going to get to him. All right. It's probably only going to be like 4, but I already said it now, so I'm going to stick with 7. And I think that the final score is going to be 17-14 for the 49ers. Low scoring game.
All right.
So well,
I'm going to do a low 3 sacks on Jimmy G.
Only 3. Well, thank you for being humble about it. I appreciate it. I gotta go bold. I gotta go big or go home.
I feel you.
All right, so thank you so much for taking time. I really want to shout out everyone that's working with Tracy over at the Fangirl Sports Network. Why don't you tell everyone your Twitter handle and anywhere that they can find you doing that, okay?
Absolutely. So on Twitter, it's Vikings FGSN. Same, it's Vikings Fangirl on Instagram. And then my personal Twitter is Katya_Dimitra, which I know is a big mouthful and hard, but you can find me somewhere.
I'm sure people will find you. I put the Vikings FGSN in the bio here, so when they look up the video, they will be able to find that there. I would say good luck, but I don't mean it. But for the rest of the year, good luck there.
Yeah, maybe we'll see you guys in some playoff action, NFC playoff action.
Fingers crossed for it. I hope so. So thanks again for joining us here at Nothing But Niners. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.